I heard the crack before I saw it, the kind of sound that turns your bones to ice. And when I hit the porch, I saw my grandfather Joe gasping on the steps, while two guys in crisp navy vests pretended they were helping, not shoving, not grinning behind those official-looking badges from Sterling Management Group. HOA enforcement. They tried the script. "Sir, he tripped, sir." These steps are uneven, while I kept saying he pushed him. I saw it, and the officer on scene just nodded at their clipboards, wrote "accident during civil dispute," and moved on. Like pain could be filed away. That night, the ER bills landed, the insurance questions started, and I stared at that violation letter that looked perfect in all the wrong ways. Watermark barcode fine. Due immediately $500 for unauthorized driveway repair on a driveway older than me. If you've ever met a lie that arrived dressed as authority, you know the smell of it. Sterile, polite cold. I wasn't paying not for the fine, not for the privilege of being bullied. So I called my cousin Mike, who runs the Steel Ravens, and said the truth out loud. The cops called it an accident, but Grandpa's ribs say different. And Mike said, "Family protects family. We ride." By sunset, there were a dozen bikes along our curb chrome, under porch light, neighbors doing the long, slow walk past, like they wanted to look without admitting it. And Moose, 6'4", 300-pound soft eyes, set a folding chair on our porch like a lighthouse keeper. I went hunting the only way I know. Screen glow. Black coffee, cross-checking domain registrations with business filings, and Sterling Management Group looked legit until you touched it. A shiny website registered 18 months ago. Same timeline. The weird letters started in our area, an office suite that turned out to be a dentist who'd never heard of them. A voicemail tree that looped you like a carnival ride. The next day, when my chest felt like a fist helped knocked, a neighbor named Megan Garcia, in neat glasses and a steady voice, a pot of soup in one hand, a manila folder in the other, saying, "I heard about your grandfather." I'm a paralegal. I hate bullies. I did some research, and she laid out statutes and template letters and the exact language our state AG needed to hear. My girlfriend Becky, who trusts processes and keeps every receipt forever, breathed for the first time in 24 hours. We held a neighborhood meeting like Megan suggested. 25 people in our living room, files on laps, the room buzzing with that mix of fear and relief. And folks had stories envelopes with fines calls that sounded official names like Sterling Property Services popping up again and again. Megan listened calm, as a librarian in a storm, promising to organize everything, offering a lawyer friend for a free consult. And for a minute, the knot in my chest loosened. Then the officers came back. Same vests, the fine, doubled for non-compliance, and Moose stood like a tree that decided it had had enough wind while Megan walked out on our porch and cut those men down with the law. "You have no authority here, gentlemen. What you're doing constitutes criminal fraud. Here are the codes and penalties." And I swear I saw their confidence leak out of their shoes. They promised to return with proper documentation and slunk away. That should have been the turn toward good days. But the morning after the meeting, neighbor Ellen, retired teacher, the kind of woman who hears every vowel in your sentence, took me aside and said she'd lied. Last night she had paid $800 to Sterling Property Services after a threatening call, and the voice on the phone sounded exactly like Megan's same soft little laugh when she was being condescending. I wanted to reject it. You know what I mean, because hope is easier than suspicion. But the part of me that reads code for a living heard the bug report inside her words. I dug deeper past the pretty front end into the sloppier back end. Found a client portal built by someone who never finished the chapter on security. Slipped through a crack, and there it was. Folders for our entire street, with surveillance photos, notes on daily routines, medical conditions, who lives alone, who naps after lunch, color-coded maps, labeling neighborhoods harvested, and neighborhoods, next financial flows, from fines to liens to emergency legal relief to quick sale deeds at 30 cents on the dollar. Orders to the enforcers, Derek and Troy, came from an admin. With the email handle M. Garcia, and my grandfather Joe had a tag beside his name that read, "Primary resistance target intimidation recommended." That's when my phone buzzed. "Saw you at my storage unit, Josh. Your grandfather's medical bills are about to get much more expensive." And fear did that thing where it tries to feel like anger, because anger is easier to carry. I followed a breadcrumb in a courier receipt to a storage facility, used a default code that should have been changed years ago, and opened Unit 47 on a crime that thought it was a company. Corkboard Webb's banker's boxes with street names across multiple states, flowcharts of money, a folder stamped with Megan's full name, Margaret Sterling Garcia, and filings that showed a paralegal career gone sideways into forgery and revenge. I copied everything, 3 flash drives, cloud backups, printed sets, and took it to Grandpa in the hospital. He studied those pages like they were a broken engine expression, flat eyes alive, and said the line I needed. Smart predators get sloppy because they believe they're the only smart ones. The next morning, the third act arrived on our porch. Megan in a pressed blazer, a county deputy with a stack labeled "Notice of Foreclosure," the whole con lurching toward legal. And that's when Mike's call went out, and 40 bikes from allied chapters rolled down our street like weather. The deputy's radio crackled, neighbors filmed from porches. Megan smiled that professional smile that never reached her eyes, and said, "These are legitimate proceedings. We are simply enforcing community standards." And Moose handed her a paper he'd typed up titled, "Community Violation Notice. Fraudulent activities, immediate cessation required," which would have been funny if my hands weren't shaking. Then Derek walked up our driveway in a thrift store blazer, holding an envelope. "Like a lifeline," said to the deputy. "Everything she said is a lie. I have recordings of her orders, bank statements, fake paperwork." And Megan's face did that fast flicker from helpful neighbor to something colder. She filed restraining orders as fast as printers could spit paper, tried to flip the script. We were a gang. She was a citizen doing her job. And for a minute, it felt like the system loves clean fonts more than messy truth. Until an unmarked sedan pulled to our curb, and Agent Linda Clark stepped out, badge in hand, saying, "We've been tracking the Sterling ring across states. Your drives fill the gaps," and by the time the emergency hearing started, the room held 3 cameras, a judge with tired patience, neighbors who looked like they hadn't slept, and my grandfather Joe, who refused a wheelchair because dignity is a habit. The evidence went up like dry pine. Portal logs with M. Garcia issuing orders. Derek's recordings where Megan said people pay faster when they feel small. Ellen's voice analysis placing Megan on both sides of the same call. Troy stumbling in with texts about threats to his mom's benefits. Flowcharts tying fines to shell companies and back to her personal accounts. And when the judge asked if she wished to respond, Megan's mask cracked. "You were easy targets," she said. "Old people shouldn't own houses they can't maintain." And the room made that sound a crowd makes when it sees the truth. It already knew. The judge voided the liens froze accounts tied to Sterling Management Group, and every cousin company ordered Megan held for federal charges: wire fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse, and our porch felt lighter for the first time in weeks. Victory isn't clean, yeah, that happened. Some neighbors moved because once you see the notes about your windows and naps, you never look at your couch the same. Becky and I tried to stitch trust back together, but it turns out paranoia doesn't share a closet. Derek got probation for cooperation and talks to community groups now. Troy did time and wrote a letter from prison that started with, "I picked fear over decency," and the Steel Ravens built an Elder Watch program that rides slow loops past senior homes on Sundays because the sound of a Harley can be a lullaby if you know it means someone's watching out for you. Months later, after sentencing and headlines and cupcakes on our porch with tiny biker toppers, an envelope showed up with no return address. Inside was a single key on a red tag that read, "Joe's Back Door." The kind you can only cut at one hardware store in town. And for a second, I tasted that cold metal fear again. Maybe a leftover copy, maybe a sick joke, maybe a reminder that systems can be rebuilt, but people who like power keep trying the same doors. We changed locks, added cameras, made tea, watched kids on scooters zigzag the street like nothing had ever happened. Here's what I know. A suit and a clipboard don't equal truth. Law can be a weapon or a shield, depending on who wields it, and a neighborhood that decides to be a neighborhood again is the ugliest surprise a bully can get. If you've had someone knock and make you feel small, breathe, call a friend. Call the loud cousin, if you've got one, and remember that fear works best when you're standing alone in your doorway. That's our story. Now tell me yours. Were the bikers heroes or troublemakers? Did the system save us, or did people save each other? Where's the line between order and intimidation? Drop your take in the comments. Argue if you need to. And if you've seen a fake authority try this dance on your street, share the signs the voice tells. The moment you knew something was off because somebody scrolling right now might be one clipboard away from learning it the hard way.